morning, class. Today in maths we're going to start a new unit on fractions. So hopefully in your home learning letter you will have seen a link to some bite-sized clips about what fractions are and how to write them, and hopefully that will give you a chance to jig your memory and remind yourselves what you might have looked at in year 1 on fractions. So today we're going to look at recognising and finding a half. So what does 1/2 mean? Well, 1/2 means 1 out of 2 equal parts. It means we're sharing equally between 2. And sharing equally between 2, as it says here, is like dividing by 2. Okay, so this is what 1/2 would look like written as a fraction. It's 1 out of 2 groups. Okay, the whole is split into 2 and we are counting 1 out of 2 of those groups. And it says here that the fractions bar goes between the numerator and the denominator. Can you remember what a numerator and a denominator are? Hopefully you will if you've watched those videos. But a numerator is the top number in a fraction. It tells us how many equal parts we have. And then the denominator, the number at the bottom, the number down, D for down, the denominator is the total number of equal parts that we have. So when we're talking about a half, we have 2 equal parts that make the whole. And if we're looking for half of a whole, we count 1 of the 2 equal groups. So the fractions bar in the middle is to symbolise the out of element or divided by. It's like a division line. Okay. So which of these diagrams show halves? And which ones don't? Why or why not? Pause it and have a think. Okay, so I've sorted them here into halves and not halves. And all of these ones in this column here are halves because they all show 1 out of 2 equal parts is yellow. Half of the star is yellow, half of the circle is yellow, 2 equal groups, and half of the cubes are yellow. Okay, the whole here is 6 and 3 out of 6 of them are yellow. 3 is half of 6, so it does show a half. Let's see if you've got the reasons why these ones are not halves. Okay, so this glass of juice or whatever it is only made up of one part making the whole, so we can't see any halves there. Here in the triangle, the 2 parts are unequal. Unequal parts cannot be fractions. Okay, so although it is 2 groups, they are not 2 equal groups. So I cannot say that 1/2 is yellow. And the whole here, again, is 6 cubes. So half of 6 should show 3 yellow and 3 red. But here only 2 yellow and 4 red. Okay, 2 is not half of 6. That does not show a half. Okay, so let's have a think together. Now, if you were able to draw or cut out any of these shapes, they might help you. Okay, I want to divide each of these shapes into 2 equal parts. So you might want to have a go at that yourself or just look at the version that I'm doing here. Am I correct? Have I divided each of these shapes into 2 equal parts? Have a look. What do you think? Are there any that I have done incorrectly? Or are there any options where I could have done it more than one way? Hopefully you would spot that on my green arrow, I have not split that shape into 2 equal parts. On shapes like this, you could think a bit about your lines of symmetry. Okay, well, actually, the line of symmetry would be down the middle. Okay, so now I have replaced my vertical line for my horizontal line. Okay, do we agree now that that shows the green arrow being split into 2 equal groups? If I folded along that line, the halves would meet and they would look the same. Okay, so as well as being a line of symmetry, it helps me to split that shape equally in half. If you spotted that you could split some of these other shapes horizontally as well as vertically, you would be correct. Okay, so let's look at question 2. Now you might want to copy again either of these shapes so that you could fold them or colour them in, but I've got a version as well. So we've got this triangle here. How would I shade half of that shape? What options do I have? Well, conveniently, it has split the triangle vertically down the middle, and I could either colour in the left half to show one half coloured, or I could colour in the right half to show one half coloured, one shaded, one not shaded, 1 out of 2, one half. And with the squares here, I've shown some different ways that you might be able to split that shape in half or fold that shape in half and then colour 1 out of 2 equal parts to represent half. Okay, and if you hadn't already seen this answer, if this is half of my shape, what will the whole shape be? Imagine you'd folded a shape in half already and that was the half that you could see. If you folded it out, what would it look like? Well, I duplicated that piece exactly, so it makes a circle, okay? One semicircle folded in half opens out into a full circle because semi means half. Okay, how many ways can you find to colour a square in half? I've showed you some options, but I think there might be more. Have a go. If you'd like a clue, have a peek now. What if you split your one whole square into more than just 2 equal groups? Could I still colour in one half? How might I do it? You might think of an even more creative way, now I've shown you that option, of being able to show half of that square coloured. There's loads of options, see how many you can find. Okay, so how do you know that each of these represent one half? Have a look. For each one, have a think about what is the whole? And to find the half, we need to do the whole divided by 2. Can you spot one that might be an odd one out? But does it still show half? How? Have a think. Okay, so when we are trying to find half of a set or a group of objects, there's different ways that we could do this, but the first thing we need to know is what is the whole. Okay, so here we need to know if they want to split into 2 teams, first we need to know what is the whole. Okay, and they are lined up here a bit more conveniently, and the whole is 12. So what we could do is we could share them out one at a time until there's none left. One in team A, one in team B, another one in team A, another one in team B, until you can see this bottom row here, they have all been shared out. Well, we could see now how many there are in each group. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in this group. And you would hope 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in this group. Have I shared those 12 children out equally into 2 teams? Yes. Okay, and each of those 2 teams represents one half of the whole. Altogether there are 12 children, so each team represents half of the children. How many is in one of those teams to represent what is half of 12? Well, in each team there will be 6. So 12 divided by 2, 12 the whole, split into 2 equal groups will leave you with 6 in each group. So 6 is half of 12. But let's have a think. Another player joins. Can the teams still be equal? Have a think. Well, no, the teams can't be equal because then there would be 13. And what do we know about the number 13? Well, 13, as well as being unlucky for some, is an odd number and it cannot be divided by 2. So imagine if we had one extra girl in the middle here, we couldn't split her in half. She couldn't play for both teams. She couldn't have legs in one team and arms in the other team. We cannot share that odd number person between two teams. It just wouldn't work out very well. Okay, let's find half. So let's think together. My whole here is 14. How can I show that I am finding half of 14? Well, I could share them into two equal groups. I could group them into two equal groups and find half. Have a think about how you might want to represent that. I know that my whole is 14. Okay, so I might think about how to split them into two equal groups. And I could do something like this. I'm making groups here. You might find it easier to share the whole out into two equal groups and then count how many in each group, but this way is slightly quicker for me. So in this group I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's check our groups are equal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Do I have two equal groups? Yes. How many is in one of the two groups? 7. So 1/2 of 14 is 7. Okay, let's try the same thing for these rubbers or erasers, as they look like here. Can you see a simple way to split them into two equal groups? What is the whole? It says here my whole is 10. Okay, and I might see this as an efficient way to split it into two equal groups. So I want to find 1 out of 2 equal groups. Okay, 1/2 of 10 is how many in one of those groups? 5. Oh, that was not a very good 5. 5. 1/2 of 10 is equal to 5. Okay, there's loads of options for this last one. Shade 1/2 of the shape. You might want to draw this out in your home learning book because it has squares in it, as I believe. Okay, so the important thing is to draw out this shape with 1, 2, 3, 4 squares along and 1, 2, 3 squares down. The astute among you will recognise that we would do 4 times 3 and it would look like an array. So I know that my whole is 12. Okay, I'm looking for half of 12 and I'm going to leave you to have a go at finding ways of shading half of that shape. Okay, and to find out what half of 12 would be and prove it. Okay, so loads of activities you can do relating to this. If you want something practical to do before you do any written activities, why not have a go at representing half of different sets of objects or diagrams at home. So you might want to build a set of objects like I did and then represent half, or you might want to draw representations in your book and then show me half of a set. But for each set, think about what is your whole, what is the total? How are you going to share them or split them into two equal groups? And then to count 1 out of the 2 equal groups to find a half. What would the number sentence be for each one? Okay, and once you're happy with your practical activities, you might want to try one of the lessons on this in your Power Maths books. So there's 2 lessons on halves in your Power Maths book. There's recognising halves, which starts on page 119. But if you're quite comfortable with that, that's more about the shapes. So if you're comfortable with the shapes but want to practice finding half of a set or an amount of objects, have a go at the finding a half lesson, which starts on page 122. Online options, you have a halves activity set on Manga High and also a halves activity set as a to-do on Purple Mash. So you've got plenty to have a go at there to make sure you're super confident with recognising and finding a half. Have a good day. See you soon. Bye.